pandemic and also post-pandemic, we hope, with the outcome of the vaccines. So I'm sorry to go right into the introduction. Let me introduce myself. Okay, thank you, Dr. Nau, for starting the recording. I was so excited to start. I forgot to start recording. My name is Suhaila Badarul Hisham. You can call me Suhaila or Su. I'm from University of Technology Petronas. I'm in the same department as Dr. Naufal, Electrical Electronics Engineering Department. I'm also the Teaching and Learning Coordinator for the department, and I'll be moderating the session. So for today, we have 5 speakers. First of all, I will request Dr. Elif Bengu from Abdullah Gül University, Turkey, and she is she is currently the Assistant Professor of Educational Science Department at Abdullah Gül University. So, and from 2016, she has been the coordinator for the Center of Enhancements of Learning and Teaching. For my colleagues in UTP, it is the equivalent of our Center for Teaching and Learning, CETaL. So she's the counterpart of Dr. Tazli and also Dr. Subarna. And then the next person the next speaker will be Dr. Syed Saad Azhar Ali, who is also my colleague at the Electrical and Electronics Engineering Department here in UTP. His area of research is in control and also virtual learning. And the third speaker will be Dr. Anis Lawiti, who is joining us from Telecom Sud Paris. Welcome, Dr. Anis. And he will be talking about exam. I was told exam surveillance later on, so I will pose a relevant question to him. Followed by the fourth speaker, Dr. Muhammad Naufal Muhammad Saad from UTP. So myself, Dr. Naufal, and Dr. Said happens to be from the same department. We'll extend this opportunity in the next year for colleagues from other departments to join this international community of practice as well. And then the last speaker, I will get Mr. Emeric Abrignani, who is also the colleague of Dr. Elif from Abdullah Gül, Turkey. He's the hang on, I want to make this correct, Director of the International Office of Abdullah Gül University. So, so I will get him to talk about the challenges with, international cooperation between students and also educators during this post-pandemic world. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to pose a question to Dr. Elif as our first speaker. So this COVID-19 pandemic has forced us to work from home. All our students are also stranded at their hometown, and it really tests us on how to interact and at the same time engage our students with courses that are still running while we are going through the pandemic. And since we can't observe them directly, and they also it's through contactless participation, how can we keep our undergraduate and also postgraduate students engaged in such a challenging environment? So over to you, Dr. Elif.
Can you see my presentation, like this PDF?
Yes, we can.
Is it big enough? Okay.
I think it's good.
Okay. So thank you. Yes, that's a challenging one, how to engage. And starting March, we also put a lot of thoughts on that topic as AGU. So what I will do is today I will give you like takeaway points from our experience. I kind of like organize them in 7 steps. So I will talk about it one by one and then give you an examples how you can do it. Of course, our settings can be different too, but I'm here to also find like solutions for those different settings. So let me start with, well, you gave the information about myself, so I'm passing this part, but I want to start with a note for these challenging times. As you know, we are teaching online in response to COVID-19 social distancing, and most of us are trying to teach in a new setting, and we are balancing a lot. So in this scenario, I would like to thank you for all of your efforts for your students. So in a healthy scenario for learning to happen, as you know, we need active processing. Students should process a few pieces of information in each channel at one time. So these channels are seeing, hearing, doing, thinking, and saying. However, in this pandemic situation, our students receiving too many information and content from various channels. So they may be looking at your screen, listening to you. On the other hand, their background might be like this. They have family issues, as you mentioned in this time, house chores, little siblings. So sadly, we cannot block everything around our students and also around ourselves. Of course, I wish that it is calm like this, but I don't think so. I'm sure in many houses, we have this chaos that I showed just a second ago. So please keep in mind that we are still in not normal online education. So that is why at UGU, we are constantly meeting with our colleagues to test little things, not like big changes, because sometimes those big changes need time, just little steps, one step at a time. So this is what I would like to do before I start. Please take a 1 minute. Maybe you can close your eyes and you can use the chat feature too, but just please take a 1 minute to think, how do you engage? And please share your comments on the chat. I'm not sure if I can see it. I hope I can, but just please close your eyes before we get into the presentation. Share with us. How do you engage yourself? You can think about the time that you were a student, or maybe you're still a student like me. Every weekend I'm a student. So can I see, oh, maybe on show conversation, right?
Yes, show conversation.
Yes. Oh, yes. And you don't need to write, but I just want you to close your eyes and think just 1 minute. How do you engage? Directly meet the lectures. Yep. As I said, you don't need to write, but even thinking yourself will be okay. By the way, I'm also learning this meeting platform, which I'm used to use Zoom, but this is fun too. I really like it. I can give like comments like this. Find means of interactive approaches, talking to students, asking questions, lectures and students, event supports with the students. Yes, and those things, in fact, we can also do it on these platforms too, which is great. We just need to boost that creativity. Interactive. Okay, so it is 12. I gave 1 minute. Let me continue, but you're welcome to write your comments and questions on the chat. So yes, we all engage in a different way, and our students. So as UGU, we have realized that in this pandemic, our students do not need really professional edited videos. We realize that all they want is from us as instructors, a human engagement. They really want us to connect with them. They really want us to check in with them. They really want us to, maybe it's because it's also this new generation thing, like aware their existence. That's all they want from us. So if we show them that we care about their success, we realize that they will stay engaged, and in fact, they stay engaged, I have to say. And we put this in test, as I said. We have found that instructors that invest their time to engage with their students and build rapport have better outcomes. So as I said, today I will give you key takeaway points that we've tried at UGU. And if you like to, you can use right away in your teaching. Some of the things you may need more time to work on them as a to organize it in an organized way. You need more time. So I call it 7 steps. The first step is humanize yourself and ourselves. And by the way, throughout this, I think since April 2020, we've been collecting also feedbacks from our students. And in a recent feedback we collected, in fact, our students complain about like how instructors are still reading from the PDFs or PowerPoints. And of course, you can read from those things, that's okay. But don't read, like read, but don't read, like still read them like you're talking to your students. And also use silence, which is so important. I think we are so kind of like rushing things. So we are also urging our instructors to pause for a second or a couple of seconds when they ask us questions, because as you know, even turning on that microphone takes time. And also I've recognized that some of our instructors are so strict, like they don't let their kids get into room, they don't let their cats jump into their lab. Let them do it, of course not the whole class time, but let them do, like, let those things happen, because those interruptions show that you're a human being, and that helps your students again to connect with you. I'm sure you're also realizing that students don't tend to turn on their cameras, and one reason is because they don't want you to see them in their home environment. But if we show them our vulnerability, I think and we've realized that in fact they are more tend to turn on their cameras. Again, laugh, smile, and trust me, those things are happening because some instructors are not used to talking to a screen, so they can be too stacked too. And trust me, we found out that instead of your webcam quality, your audio is more important. So please also be careful about that too. What we found out also is asking feedback from your students is tremendously important. Please give them opportunity to be heard. Set a community agreement together with your students and included the netiquette for the course, but give them a voice to be heard and to share. Create opportunities to connect. Thankfully, online education provides us with multiple venues for communicating with our students. So I don't know what you're using. We are using Canvas. So we tend to use the announcement section, the discussions, the telephone. Yes, we are using it because some of them are just absent. So we call them. We ask like how they are doing. And then the next week, we are recognizing that they start to come to the classes because they now know that we care about them. And yes, it is, in a way, it is so sad because some of our students, like their family members passed away, they don't even tell us. And we're like, why didn't you tell us? It's just because they said that they couldn't find that connection. So that's why it is so important to build those connections. One thing I would like to emphasize here is digital office hours. I think it is so important. If you don't have it yet, please put it in your calendar so that your student, they may not come, by the way, but just give them that opportunity. It is so welcoming. So another one is make eye contact. I know we can say like eye contact is key to education. That's a tricky one, I know, because most of our students, they're not turning on their cameras. And I don't know if you are having that same problem, but I do. So please put an effort to create one-to-one interactions. Send supportive video messages to your students or voice messages. Refer to students' comments. Again, these are the kind of things we're suggesting our instructors, and we are embedding it into our courses because that's like using their names signals that you know them, you're aware of their existence. I think that's the most important sentence. And I would like to say send personal emails, but you may say, oh, I have more than 20 students. How am I going to do that? One of my colleagues suggested using merge email option on Excel sheet. You may know it, but if you don't, by the way, I will share this PowerPoint presentation with you. You're welcome to look at it because the next one slide have an information on that, but I will skip this for now. Timely feedback, which is extremely important because we have to keep students engaged in their learning journey. If we don't do that, then they'll be just, you know, feel like they're left out. So giving feedback about their performance is so important. And what we found out that some of our instructors, they are giving assignment after assignment, assignment after assignment, but they forget, or they might be busy to give feedback on that previous assignment, which is not good because then students don't know how they did on that previous assignment, and now they have a new assignment. And that is also decreasing their motivation. They are kind of like, feel like they got lost. And that these are the kind of also things that come out from our survey results. They are always saying that, because, by the way, our students, they love assignments, they love quizzes, because they said that, oh, this is how I'm keeping, like, that's how I know that I'm on track. But if we don't give them feedback, they feel lost. That's what they've been telling us. And I don't know about you, but my fingers are kind of like in this online remote teaching getting tired. So what I do is I provide my students audio comments, sometimes audio feedbacks. It is faster, and I think just hearing my voice can also give them positive thoughts, or again, making that connection. Organized course content. This, you may need to put more effort and time on this, because we, as I said, students are receiving many things right now, many informations, and they don't really know what you are expecting from them. And they are really overwhelmed with information, and they need like a direction. So show them the direction. And one of my colleagues called this signposting. And also you can organize your material, and by chunking, highlighting, and connecting, which I have the information on this presentation, but I will skip it because of the time. But that will also help your students to see clearly what you are expecting from them and what they have to do next, or the kind of readings they have to do next. And I can hear you, you may say, oh, we are like spoon feeding. No, in fact, you're just clearly explaining them your expectations, because the rest is onto them. They have to read that material, they need to watch that material, it's all onto them. You're just showing them the direction. So I'm passing this part. You're welcome to look at it later, because I think, and of course, we would like to make their learning active, which is crucial as right now. So one way to engage online learners is to get them out of their beds and get them involved in active learning, right? We all want that. And trust me, I have students, like I'm having my course, and yeah, they told me that they are right now still in their beds. And I was like, great. There are tons of apps and tools for different needs and purposes. So please keep in mind that one solution will not fit all of your courses. So when you're making decision, especially when it comes to using the tools, please ask these 4 questions. Well, yes, first of all, keep it simple, but also please ask these 4 questions. What do you want to achieve? Your yearly and your daily learning goals or objective? What do your students need to know? Which tools will work for you and for your students? And which tools do you find comfortable to work with? Because what one tool that will work for your colleague may not work for your course content or for your students. It's some tools are not free, and some tools require like higher bandwidth or a really good internet connection. So those little things even will decide you which ones to pick. So how can these tools help us in this active environment? Well, first of all, they will bring the hands-on learning experience to your classes, so which is so crucial. But if you don't want to use the tools, you can still make your students active by kind of like making little changes in your courses. They can work on case studies, they can work with the team by using Padlet if you need a tool for that. They can use Netflix videos or YouTube videos to maybe kind of like see what is happening in the field. And also self-assessment opportunities start to get like increase its importance. Let's give students more responsibility for their own learning. I'm not saying that it is easy. We are still having a lot of difficulty, but we are not giving up. We're still working on that peer learning and self-assessment. Use social media as a way to spice up your courses. I've been using this. In fact, I recently added a Twitter badge to my course on page. I don't know what is it with the hashtag. They just love it. They're even happy that my course is a hashtag now. So you can also like hashtag. You can use the hashtag to push posts with course relevant content. Gamifying the content, it is something that you also need time to organize yourself, your course, your needs. You can use Slido or Mentimeter to kind of like gamify your content, like or your course. But if you like to gamify the whole course, the whole content, then I will suggest you to invest more time. I'm not sure how I am with the timing. But I hope I'm good. And
it's okay. You're good, Dr. Elif.
Okay.
Right.
So as Benjamin Franklin said, tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. Let's engage our students, and I'm sure rest will come along. Then they'll be eager to turn on their cameras, to come to your course, and I'm sure they will do their best to do better on those assessments too.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Elif. Well, some reminders and also something new. For example, for us during this very challenging period. So it was interesting to know that audio feedback could be very important for our students. And talking about silence in an online session, yeah, I think everybody has experienced that. I find it particularly scary because if I ask a question and there is no, there's just cricket noise on the other end. So that's particularly scary. So to have that actually silence to be, I hope, what we hope is them trying to digest, trying to with a good response or reply to our question. So I think we need to give them time. So thank you for reminding us on that. Okay, and thank you for the many methods that we can use to engage students. Some of them we already use, I believe, here, but there are also something new on the audio feedback and probably make things more personal for the students. All right, thank you, Dr. Elif. Okay.
Welcome.
All right.
I'm here if people have later on any questions. I will share this presentation too. Okay. And they have like websites and also references that they can look at. So let me stop sharing the content.
Okay, all right. For anyone who has a question, however, questions will be, I will try to post the questions to the speaker at the end of the session. So I'll get them all of them to have their say first. But if you have a particular questions, you can post them on the chat window and I'll go through them. However, we may need to pick one or two because of the time. But if we have other questions, we may post them later to the speakers. Okay, I'm moving on to our colleague, Dr. Syed Azhar Ali. So I hope, Dr. Syed, you're ready? Okay.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Okay. All right. So Dr. Syed will be sharing his presentation. So we've agreed and we've looked at Dr. Elif's presentation that engagement with students is very critical in motivating them, keeping them on track with the courses they're taking. So can you share your experience or the technique that you use in your course to keep your students engaged in the classes that you taught. Okay, over to you, Dr. Said.
All right, thank you very much, Sohaila, and thank you very much, Dr. Arif, for your very nice sharing. Um, uh, Today, I'm going to talk about the way I did the collaborative teaching with my students. Let me share my screen. It's coming.
Oh, Dr. Said is actually joining us from the university.
Actually, no. This is my background.
Oh, okay. Oh, you took a background. Oh, okay, that's nice. Okay,
This is
sorry.
copyright material. All right. Basically, I've been doing this this collaborative learning for the last few semesters, not during the pandemic, before the pandemic, and I wanted to continue with this one. So I had this challenge of how to continue during this online learning. So I tried to convert this into online collaborative learning, and then try to enhance it with the video solutions. So the challenges during the pandemic was there was no face-to-face classes, as Dr. Arif already mentioned. It was difficult to focus on individual students, and then we cannot get the immediate feedback from the students about their learning, and there was less interaction with the students. So this was a problem that I faced while I was trying to implement my approach. Let me tell you my approach during the face-to-face learning. It was during the tutorials, and we grouped the students into 5 each, and they were given 5 questions. So like 5 questions, 5 of the members. This means each one has to do 1 question, but not just that. One question was given to 1 student as a leader. So this guy is the leader, and he is gonna talk about the question. He takes the lead, and then secondly, he guides the group with all the steps, and he talks about the question. So let's say if we are given a question, this is like a normal session. We give us, so he will talk about the steps, and and he will talk about the steps and the techniques to solve the problem, and he notices that this circuit has like 3 nodes and 4 loops and whatever. So he said, okay, let's choose this. So this is like up to the basic step, very basic. He has to talk about the question, and all the group members can participate in the discussion, and they can follow or they can object if there is a problem. Like in this particular approach, one guy thinks that this is not the right approach. There should be something wrong. So he said, okay, these 2 should not be considered, and they just 3 loops anyways. So this way they all talk to each other, and it's like and I myself and my GA, my teaching assistants, were together like roaming around in the room, and we were helping around if there was a problem. So this was the basic approach that I used to do while doing online learning. However, yeah, after that, the next member becomes the next leader, and so on. So like that. The challenge, however, was during the online learning. So the objective was to implement online group-based collaborative learning and how to do it online, and then to enhance it with some video solutions. So this was the approach that I conducted using. So the approach was online group-based collaborative learning. So what we did is to group them in smaller groups. So a class of 30 or 50 was grouped into like 3 or 4 students, and then tutorials conducted on separate. So they were in different groups on separate channels. So they were individually, just like sitting on a table, but not actually face to face, but online. They did the same way. So one member has to take 1 question and has to talk about the solution while he was sharing his screen. They could use their screens or like tablets or like the whiteboard as well. So that depends on the device available with them. And then the solutions, they were later asked to submit the solution in the form of video, not just basic solution, but the video, that so that each student will have to show and discuss and tell, like show and tell, this is how to get the solution. And then all the solutions were available to all the students at the end. So this way they had about 30 or 50 solved questions available, and they were all solved step by step. How do we do it? We did it on MS Teams or sometimes BBB as well. They were like 3 members in a group, and they were given 3, and we were assisted by 4 teaching assistants during the whole session. We were like popping in different channels to see if there's an issue or problem. So each member leads the team for his question. The leader demonstrates step by step sharing screen to the team, and we and the teaching assistants were like popping in at different locations, or they can also ask on the main channel. Later on, they were required to submit solutions in the form of video. So at the end of the day, we had about had 30 unique problems solved in the form of video. This helped them a lot because they were given the liberty to discuss within themselves. Normally, once again, they're already shy in a face-to-face class, and in terms of online, they're even shy because they have to like speak up and all. So within that small group, they were able to communicate easily within themselves, and they were easily asking questions from the lecturer. How this was meaningful? So each student felt confident in addressing the problem and approaching the solution while leading his own team. So this way, they were more vocal. They were talking to each other. They were talking to each other very confidently. Then each team member gets dedicated attention during the class. So whenever I was joining that particular channel, I was like focusing on that particular group only, not the whole class, not the whole thing, but those 3 members only, and they were getting the full attention from my side. Then later on, they had access to video solutions, which helped them to later on sort of practice. And the approach resulted in fruitful learning experience to all the students. I have a few samples of what they did. That would take some time, but just.
Today we will solve question 4.13.
So
in this question, we are required to design a parallel resonance circuit with omega naught equals to 10 radian per second, Q equals to 20, and the resistance equals to 10 ohm. And we are also required to calculate the bandwidth of the circuit. First of all, after the given info, we can write them down. We will first find the bandwidth of the circuit. The formula given in the parallel circuit is the bandwidth equals to the omega naught divided by Q. So 10 divided by 20.
So similar approach was conducted, and we had all these solutions available.
We'll just have to add them together.
They were talking all the steps required for the solution. And this way, they had a complete, so each session ended up with 30 solutions, and so all solved in videos. So this was like more immersive in a way that that all took part in the discussion, and all were asking questions easily rather than. I have a few testimonials, I would say, like. This guy said the smaller groups allowed me to have a better understanding on difficult concept as the lecturer pays attention to every one of us. Similarly, I won't feel shy to ask questions. It makes me feel, have the courage to ask the questions that I don't understand and explain the question that I know to others. Helped me a lot when I'm doing my revision. Video solution submissions were also a very good way to make sure that we truly understand. It made me careful with because when they're submitting this, the solution, they were very careful and cautious because all the students will be like talking about that particular solution. Similarly, like other testimonials as well. So it was a fruitful experience that I did, and I conducted this in the last 2 semesters. The overall feedback was very good, except one guy who said that he was still too shy to make a video, so he just made a presentation out of it. So that's it for my side. If there's anything, I would be glad to answer.
All right, thank you, Dr. Syed, for sharing your experience with that. Yeah, I think one other benefit for the video revision is that because if we do an online sort of collaboration or meeting, it takes up a lot of bandwidth. that's going to be a drawback for students with limited data plans. Sometimes they are not able to join. So a video is a more sort of low on the data intensity, so to say. So it allows students with sort of slow mobile plans to still join and be able to benefit from the revision. I think that's a good idea. Thank you, Dr. Said, for sharing your idea. Okay. Right, now I'm going to move to our third speaker, Dr. Anis Lawiti. Dr. Anis, are you still there with us? Are you still here with us? Okay, so...
Yeah, I'm still here, so...
Okay, right. Okay, Dr. Anis is joining us from Telecom Sud Paris. And his area is more on wireless network. And I was told that Dr. Anis will share his experience on assessment, in particular exam. So, is it true that you are conducting surveillance for exam, Dr. Lawiti? Can you talk more about it?
Yeah, actually, I'm participating to the surveillance process of the exams. It was the first experience for me. I'm trying to share my screen.
We can see your screen now. Oh, they can see
me. Okay, this is mine. And I'll try to up. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. Now we can see your slide. Cool.
Yeah. So, hello everybody. Anis Lawiti. I'm from Telecom Sud Paris, and I'm working on at S2M department. As you said, I will share my experience for exam surveillance at TSP during this pandemic, which is quite, let's say, a strange situation, especially for us. I had the feeling like a guard watching several cameras, and it's very, very special. Anyway, just a short introduction about the exams in general. So the exams, they have an important role in the process of learning and in the whole educational institution. So this process is used to evaluate the knowledge that the students had, and at the same time, at the same time, it will allow the student to get their diploma. And the diploma they will get from their institution has a brand. And in both sides, for the students, we have to assess the knowledge regarding a special subjects. But at the same time, for the university they have to keep a certain level, a certain image of the diploma they will give to students. So the question now is, how are we able to keep rigorous standards of assessment in general, but for us today, especially during this pandemic? So I will share the experience I had for this for this exam. So the surveillance at TSP, it's very recent, let's say, process for this kind of remote surveillance at TSP. And in the view of the health situation and in agreement with the TSP management, so they decided that all the exams for the first and second year of engineering in large groups, which are scheduled in November and December 2020, they will take place remotely. So to do this, we have to organize ourselves. So what we do, we use the learning management system, the Moodle that we've been using for more than 10 years at our institution. So this will manage the different groups, different tests that we open, different exams. But let's say the new thing is the remote surveillance, which is done via the video conferencing tool, the big blue button. The idea is to assign a proctor for each group of students, and that person will follow the exam from the beginning to the end. So each supervisor will have, let's say, 20 up to 20 students to supervise. Here are some of the instruction for the supervisors for the remote exams. So they will ask the students and the supervisors to arrive 15 minutes prior to the start of the exam. Proctors will monitor until 15 minutes after the end of the exam. So it will keep some additional time, let's say, for the students to give back their copy and leave the room. The supervisor will receive a list of the students' names prior to the proofs, allowing them to control the identity and validate the presence of the students. So this point is a little bit delicate because you have to check the ID and the corresponding name and compare it to the compare it to the let's say to the person behind the camera. So it depends on the quality of the camera. Yesterday, for example, sometimes I was not really able to read the names on their IDs, or sometimes if they move a little bit their IDs, it was sometimes impossible. But this is the process that we had to follow. So the students, they will they're asked to keep their camera open through the exam. For us, we didn't really ask to have more than one camera. Only one. Let's say the camera of the laptop is sufficient. So in that case, as you may imagine, we don't have any idea about the surrounding or the room where the student is doing his exam. So as I said, the student cards will be checked before the start of the event. And the student, very, very important point, the student who doesn't plug in his camera will be considered as absent. So these were the instruction given to the supervisors, and the present slide is for the instruction given to the students. So the exam subjects will be available on the learning management system model. Let's say, as usual, for example, for assignments, for example, if we share some lecture documents with the students, all this is done using the learning management system model. So the exam subjects, they will be available. We have two cases. For the classical one, which is based on the classical tests with the model, let's say tests like multiple choice questions, or the classical tests as we are used to do. In this case, it's a little bit different because the students, they have to generate their answer in the form of a single PDF file. So either by answering via a graphic tablet or writing on a simple paper. So in that case, they are asked to use a black pen, and then they have to scan and photography all the pages in order, and also put the statements of good faith that they didn't cheat during the exam. So and they will hand excuse me, sorry for. So at the end, they will hand their copy in the model assignment. This is the let's say a screenshot of the exam I was supervising yesterday. So I had 20 cameras in this screenshot. There were only 19 because one of them was absent. And I was able to interact with the students in the chat. Each time there was something, let's say, not something unusual, I was able to ask them if everything's okay. For example, one of the students was has his camera cut off, so I asked him to switch on the camera again. So as you may imagine, it's not very funny task, and it's more like a job for a guard. But we have to do this in this very special situation of the pandemic. We don't really have other choices, or in this case, some problems are raised. Here I put some issues and problems. The first one is the conditions. These are not classical exam conditions like we have in the past, because students at their homes with the camera filming them continuously, and not always in perfect conditions. Sometimes there is some noise at home or in their neighborhood. Sometimes they don't have good network connectivity, and the concentration is not 100%. So it will add more stress to the students during the exam, which is not very easy to manage. And they need to learn and to handle us. So can we guarantee a rigorous assessment in these conditions? So the question, how to ensure the identity of the students, how to be sure that the students who validate his identity is the same person who is answering the questions, and also how to avoid cheating. For example, how to avoid accessing to unauthorized documents, accessing to the internet, and so on. Or, for example, getting help from someone else, a third party. So here I will just present what is being done in some other universities, even some other countries. But at Telecom Sud Paris, we are not doing that, at least for the moment, because these techniques are based on Big Brother techniques, and Big Brother is watching you. So these techniques are based on the use of softwares. And this software, they will keep snooping the students' environment. What does it mean? It means that they will record the surrounding environment of the students. They will use one or more cameras. They will ask the students to use their smartphone to film their direct surrounding area. This software, they will spy the activity of the student's laptop during the exam. For example, if they use their keyboard, what did they type exactly, and what files did they open? All the activity is recorded. And some of them are even equipped with some artificial intelligence for face recognition. To validate the ID and the person behind the camera, eye tracking in order to check that the student is concentrated on his screen and is not trying to check something else in the surrounding. Facial recognition to see if he's trying to speak or doing something unusual with his hands or with his head, and video and audio surveillance to detect suspicious situation. So these techniques are not efficient 100%, And in some cases, there are some false positive situation. For example, the noise of kids could be seen as a tentative to cheat, for example. So these software, they have many issues because they use intrusive methods. They are spying on the students. Their privacy is not respected 100%. And also, another question can be raised regarding the GDPR, regarding the data that will be collected, where this data is going to be stored, what is going to be done with all this data. So these are mainly the different questions and the problem raised by these softwares. Here, I don't know if we can. There is a demonstration of one of these softwares called Protector Exam. The video is 8 minutes long. I'm not going to show all the video, but just I hope that it works. Just the beginning to show the way they control the identity. Okay. Yeah. So before the exam, that you have to make sure that you are alone and with enough light, and the camera is well positioned. No headphone, no talking, no singing, no toilet breaks, no extra devices. Another point. Let me go. Yeah, and then they start checking the different items. Microphone is if the microphone is working, the speakers, they check the bandwidth, the webcam, and they finish by asking to check the mobile phone. The mobile phone. Why? I don't remember where it is, but the mobile phone actually it is used to film the surrounding area, in the room, and to check that there is nothing on the table, behind the chair, and all the different part of them. Yeah, here how to check the ID. So you have to show your ID. Then they will take a photo and they will compare it to the person behind the camera, and it will be saved. Yeah. For the here using the smartphone, the candidate is filming his laptop, what is on the table, under the table, and also at one moment they even check the ears to be sure that there is no earphone. Yeah, here. Yeah, I stop here. So to conclude, the experience I have from the first examination, remote examination, let's say it was a little bit special. I had the feeling of doing a Big Brother job to watch the different candidates doing their exam. But I realized that this process is very sophisticated in some other universities, and we have to be very careful when collecting data to avoid any further problem. That's all for my side. Okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Anis. Just a quick a point to clarify, Dr. Anis. How often do you have to do this so far, since Telekom Supari uses it?
Actually, it depends. It depends on the needs. For example, from my side, I did it yesterday. It was 2 days ago for the first time. I will do it again, but it was only to help other colleagues, because they have let's say up to 200 students per so they
so
need some help.
Need to have 10 proctors.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you have not done this for your own course?
No, because I was lucky. My course, the course I had, they were during, let's say, the normal period. I didn't, but I have to think about it, because my next courses, they will be in next March.
Okay.
And I will have to think about this. Maybe I will use these techniques.
Okay.
Or use another techniques to evaluate, to assess the knowledge of the students. Okay. Some other techniques, which means not classical exams.
I see. So it doesn't mean that every instructor or every lecturer in Telekom Supari has to use this. I mean, they can opt out.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Yeah, it's not mandatory, but first, for some lectures or for some subjects, we don't have any other choice.
I see. Okay, all right. So that's one way, and it's not just Telekom Supari. A lot of other universities, including in France, are using them, it seems.
In France, in the United States, in many other countries, and this is very. I think it's a little bit dangerous. Using all these techniques, yeah.
It does. I mean, people are questioning also how companies are surveilling their workers that are working from home. And watching your presentation reminds me also of how online chess matches or online professional chess matches, when they're playing chess, this is how they monitor the players as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting.
Right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anis,
for
sharing your experience. Okay, all right. So I'm moving on to just a reminder to participants, to the audience. If you have any question you would like to ask our speakers, please put them on the chat window. If we have time, I will post them to the relevant speakers at the end of the session. Okay, Dr. Naufal, your turn now. Okay. Right. So obviously, continuous assessment and feedback is important. Dr. Elif also touched upon that. So what was your experience, and how do you do regular assessment and continuous assessment for your students? I know you taught electromagnetic theory during the MCO. So what was your experience? Your turn to share.
Thank you very much, Suhaila. Thank you very much. So welcome everybody. From Telekom Supari, Abdullah Gul University, and also to all my colleagues. I'm just here as a sharing. I mean, maybe lots of our colleagues have been doing that too. Just that this also can be shared with our colleagues in France and in Turkey. I was actually, there's a changes. My presentation is focused on my other subject, which is communication system.
Okay.
I've been teaching two actually. Electromagnetic theory was, I teach after 3 months, was in January until May, and in March that we have to convert. So it was like, I cannot say disaster, but it was like, wow, you have to do, we have to adapt very fast. I think that everybody have experienced the same thing. But after that in May, our semester, then I get used to it. So that's where we are talking about the current state. The COVID pandemic, even though we have the vaccine, UK will start next week already to have the vaccine, but we still at this stage of pandemic have changed drastically the teaching and learning landscape. Okay, and by the way, it's also increased significantly the online teaching and learning demand. whatever that we're talking about, the handphone and so on. I know that my kids, for example, even 5 years old, doing online learning. My daughter, 5 years old, very, very difficult for her because whenever she's very excited, but when she's in front of the teacher online, face to face, after 5 seconds, she will fall asleep. I don't know why. It's like there's a, you know, like there's a something spell behind. And of course, so in the end, but for same for our students, that's why the talk that we talk here actually is important, because everybody's giving different solution. And we're talking about, when you talk about graduation need a certain level of assessment. We are not yet like an open degree where we can just give based on, okay, you can, you cannot, you can, you cannot. But we still have to go for that assessment. Well, unluckily, because some people now try to tend, a lot of teaching and learning now try to tend to go no assessment or something like, it's not even continuous assessment. The target is to have no assessment. But how to do that? So in the end, we are still stuck at this level, especially during COVID-19 pandemic. That's the worst scenario. Like just now we saw Dr. Adis Lauti, we have to be like a police, big brother. It's terrible. I mean, but as a lecturer, we feel terrible to do that, because it's hard to say like as if like we don't trust you, we don't trust the students. But at the same time, we also want to protect those who've been honest, those who have worked so hard and can, really show their motivation to answer. So there's pro and contrast and all the system. And maybe we need to find which limit. So for this solution, we were talking about continuous assessment. Online assessment can be defined as evaluation of a person, abilities, behavior, and all characteristics of you, what you want to test. This test conducted over the internet by using available web technology. So we saw a lot of platform nowadays. So an assessment may set out with clear objectives such as to test the knowledge or learning of a candidate. So in UTP, we have this platform, we call it ULearn platform. We call it ULearn, UCampus. So for the students, we say ULearn, where there's an assessment that we can use in this system, such as quiz, test, project, video, assignment, final exam standard assignment. But there are a lot of, these are just some of it that I show here, and actually give us a lot of options, okay? So today I just want to talk one of the options that I've been using. So before I move further, this is our ULearn. Maybe Dr. Ali, Dr. Anis, Mr. Emric can look at some of platform. Maybe there's a lot of similarity here. Okay, for example, this is our platform where we put our lecture notes. Those at the bottom, you can see these are online lectures that have been recorded, which I put it here so that our student that might have problem with the internet or even just absent can look, or you just want to do some revision, can look again at the classes or tutorial. And of course, we have also tutorial question there, the answers that are given later on, so the student can get all the PowerPoint document earlier at the beginning of the semester. They will have all these things so that they can be prepared. And of course, at the bottom, we have quiz, tests, all these assessment, assignment, post. At the bottom of that, actually, I could not show was project. So there are a lot of, these are the good platform now we have, which have been accelerated because before this pandemic, I was using a little bit only because I like the face-to-face thing. But due to this now, I think that all of us become expert, and even more than that, even created their own software, their own program. So to go into this example, I just want to show what I've been doing. We call it a random question. Okay, so for example, if I want to start a quiz or test here, so what we did actually, we will go, for example, if I say, okay, I want to give 3 questions per student. Okay, so what I did, I actually just prepared the whole question, test, quiz, question, preparation. I prepare a lot so that there will be some repetition, but in the same categories. For example, the first group of category might be this level of difficulty. The second one harder, and the third one much harder. Okay, and in the end, the first group I will put like several questions. So I will split into groups in question bank. So this group, I call it simple, I even can call it group 1, group 2, and group 3, okay? And I split it into these different questions. So what happened? Actually, I just pick one question randomly from group 1, randomly from group 2, and randomly from group 3, and then I will just give to the student. So this is, I'm talking about online. It will select randomly the system itself, and so on for group 2, for student number 2, 3, 4 until student n. So these are the system where which I like. I mean, I discover during the pandemic because when I did quiz before was face-to-face, where we just do the exam, so we can have the same question for everybody. But due to the pandemic and due to we don't know this proper exam system software and so on, not yet. So I mean, we need to find a way of making sure that at least we want to minimize. I'm not saying that we're going to eliminate the copy paste or copying, cheating, and so on, but saying that we give prize, but at the same time, we are not putting too much pressure saying that the students should are doing this and so on. So what we do the random, and this random actually at least minimize the number of students that's going to copy each other. Because some of the things happen, for example, in our hostel, the students are even in the same room, side by side. They can even do the test or quiz side by side. So it's not easy if they have the same question, I mean, they can discuss. So this kind of thing avoid the student. Even some of the system here allow even this random, so random even in between, that even the first student will get question for the group 3 and the other one even get the group 1 first. So there will be no measurement or even, teaching or assisting some of the friends. Anyway, it's also limited time. With the limitation of time, actually, so the students do not have time. I have this tips from one of my friends before. He said that you just give a lot of questions, even more than the time required, so that, and after that, of course, during the correction, you will justify yourself based on that and give more marks. But the thing is that if you don't want the student to copy each other, you give more questions than that they can answer within the time, so that they are really busy on answering their question and they don't have really time to answer for somebody else. So that's just some tips I got from a friend. So if you look at this platform, these are the question bank that have been done before. So as you can see, there are some, I've done some pop quiz. We have test 1, quiz 2, test 2. And if you look at the small figures here in brackets, those are the number of questions that have been prepared. Sometimes I put 3, depends. Some here, sometimes I just put 6. Depend if I just at one time I want to do more in this question bank. But we have to put in mind that the more you put there, the more answer scheme you have to prepare. So there's a pro and contra. So you want to have more. So it depends on the number of the students, and normally 3, 4, it depends on the student. Normally if I put 30 students, I try to divide by 10. So I have 3. I need to have minimum 3. Okay, so those are some of the reference that I do. So for example, here are the questions. It's almost the same sometimes, it's just different figures, sometimes really totally different questions. So as you can see, these are some examples. Some is just a simple text. So that's why it depends. Is it for quiz? Quiz is a smaller version of assessment. Test for us is a higher level. Okay, extended assignment is a much higher and an open book. Here, for example, one question have 1, 2, 3, 4. That one is not advisable sometimes because actually this in terms of answer scheme is huge. But anyway, it's also avoid the student to copy each other. So as you can see, some of the groups that have been done, you can even put pictures. So that's also the part that we can put. Always normally do a lot of figures to attract the student to answer properly, you know. So there's some of the figures here. These are also some of the figures they have to answer, transmitter, receiver, and so on. So these are some of the examples that have been used in order using the ULearn question bank in order for me to assess the student. So as you can see, the thing about this this assessment, I know that, like just now when Dr. Ani said, we don't want to be the police here. Actually, we don't want, but the target here is we want to reduce some of this cheating and so on. But at the same time, we really want to make sure that the student deserve what they want. And also we need this assessment to assess, to give grades, so that we can move forward to see how they are good or not in order to give them certain marks. So there are many assessments. That's why during this pandemic, what is advisable is also a continuous assessment, such as it's on assignment, it's on video. That's what I've been doing. Like for example, video assessment, we call it video project, where they have to do some teaching, and those are given marks so that, you know, we give some reward for them because they are teaching their friends. We do some sort of flipped classroom assessment in order to give marks whatever the effort they have been doing. These are also being given as effort. And in UTP so far, we also have in the end, because we don't have that final exam. In UTP normally we have final exam where the student will have to sit for 3 hours, and these are, you know, like counted 50% of their total marks, 50, 40, depend on the subject. We could not do it during this pandemic. So what we do actually now, we call it extended assignment, where they will pass about 24 hours and open book questions. So these are some of the options that we have. So I think that I don't pick a lot on that. So I hope that I've shared some of the points. Thank you very much. Maybe I will later on.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Naufal. Okay, just as a clarification, because there was a lot of names of different platforms being shared during this session. So I know Abdullah Gul, as Dr. Elif mentioned, they use Canvas. That's also one learning management system. We share similarities with Telecom Paris because our ULearn is actually Moodle based. We also have Big Blue Button, so that was BBB. Probably Dr. Elif heard that. During Dr. Syed Saad's presentation, was like, what BBB is? A Big Blue Button, similar to this Teams. For example, in Telecom Paris, they are using it for remote surveillance. We haven't thought of that. And we also conduct our classes using the Microsoft Teams. So there are a lot of similarities. Okay, yeah. All right. So now we go on to our final speaker, Mr. Emerick. So our the first 4 speakers before you have shared their experience, the drawbacks that they face while trying to continue providing teaching and learning activities for the students during this pandemic. What do you think, as a person in the international affairs unit in Abdullah Gul, what should we learn from this experience in a very short, compressed time? What should we take and continue to do beyond, even when we get back to sort of hopefully what would like to be normal after the pandemic ends? Over to you, Mr. Emerick.
Yes, thank you very much. So first of all, thank you for having me in this interesting discussion. And I'd like to thank all the panelists for the great insight they've been sharing. It was very good practical, advice and tips. Now, my contribution will be more of a compliment. I would like to give a brief analysis of how our institution handled the transition to distance education, which was new to us because we are a young institution and we were very much focused on hands-on training. So it was a big shift. So how we handled it very briefly. Then the current analysis that we are making of the situation right now. And based on this analysis, I would like to share with you our plan for 2021, hopefully in a post-pandemic era. We'll see about that. And then in the end, I'll share some comments from my instructor's perspective because I was teaching during the transition. So I was impacted. And also from my international affairs administrative perspective, as you mentioned. because what's happening affects very much international affairs as well. And actually, there are great opportunities that we can seize as educators. So I will mention some. I would like to share my documents. All right, so first of all, very briefly, talk about the transition, because it was a big shock for us. But apparently we managed to do it quite effectively. We took many measures like many other universities did. I would classify them as such. First, the assessment of the situation, whether students and educators are, equipped, and whether we are capable of continuing the semester, because when we shifted, it was right in the middle of the semester in March. So we started the semester and then completely shifted online, like many other universities, but for us, probably a bit later. And then we worked on enabling students and the educators to make that transition. Then the adaptation phase, and we even managed to have a graduation ceremony in the summer, respecting sanitary rules. So that was the part. As a result, there was a ranking, believe it or not, in Turkey evaluating the best transition to online education. And as per this survey across students, AGU was selected as #1. So what we realized from this experience is that the pandemic has triggered many things. It's a turning point in our view. And the objective after that is not to go back to the way it used to be. In this turning point, we're learning a lot of things, and we want to make the most out of these things. So there is a change of approach to course design. We've modified our calendar, learning objectives, assessment methods. We mentioned many techniques today, but the approach to these things changed. I personally faced difficulty, especially in this part, assessing the students, examination, supervision, and these kind of things. Also, what we realized is that it removed the mental barriers regarding digitalization and online education. These things were not considered to their right value before. Online degrees, they were not given the right credit, I would say. Even you could see that some positions in academia or companies are not accessible if you have completed online degrees. I think this is changing because now we're all experiencing it, and we're even promoting it to keep our institutions running. So because of that, now it's more considered, I would say. And it basically accelerated the much needed mutation of higher education, because we were, for example, in AGU, we were planning this transition already, but maybe we had a target date of 2025 or even after that to finish this transition. But now with the pandemic, our plan is to start in fall next year. So the acceleration is real. And for the universities that had not planned any move towards distance education, well, it came to their minds, and now it's part of the agenda. So there is a move, accelerated move, I would say. So all these changes due to the pandemic are no temporary patchwork. We are going to use them to further develop the institution. Now the analysis of the current situation. We've seen many pros and cons of distance education. Now we've experienced an emergency transition in spring semester. This fall semester, we had more time to prepare and come up with new design, suggestions. But still, we are observing the same, trends happening. Many pros that we all know. There is more flexibility of time, location, pace. We have a wider access to resources, better reach to people. More people can now benefit from higher education opportunities, whether staff or students. For example, now we're having this online session. I'm not sure we would have had it if not in pandemic period. Decrease of cost, so more accessible, access to higher education. Personalization of education, we've discussed a little bit today about individualized modules and everything. Online distance education enables all this, but we also deplore quite a few cons. And I've experienced them, and it frustrated me a little bit. So there is a need for more autonomy for staff and students. They have to, motivation-wise, we discussed it with Dr. Bengu earlier, to keep them engaged. It's more difficult if they are not in the classroom. They have to be more autonomous. There is a need for technology. So while we talk that, we say that people have more access because there is a better reach, but if these people are not equipped, then they are excluded from this, progress and process. And we see a drop of skill development, especially interpersonal, how to handle discussions, group work, like in reality, with physical interaction, and practical skills. If you have lab sessions, workshops, we realize that it's difficult to do online, and the difficulty to assess that I mentioned previously. So we came up with the idea that there is a need for a new model, making the most of both of these worlds, off and online. So we are planning the reestablishment of on-campus education in order to basically counter the cons that I've just listed. So enable hands-on training and experiential learning, develop all skills, ICT and interpersonal, etc. And also make use of the facilities, because we have great campuses. I visited UTP campus, it's great. Ours as well, and it's growing. So it would be sad. I mean, the learning is also taking place outside of the classroom, as we all know. And we have all this great infrastructure that we cannot use anymore. So we want this part of the learning process to be enabled again. So basically, the target in fall 2021 is as such. We will introduce a blended model with asynchronous online recorded material, especially to prepare the class, but also to complement it and catch up for those who could not, attend, or or that are behind. So now there is a chance for them to catch up. So recordings and online material using Moodle or Canvas we discussed earlier, but also synchronous online classes, but mainly for live interaction. With a wide audience, so lectures, virtual brainstorming sessions, debates, etc., and the reintroduction of on-campus classes, but for a purpose, not for all types of classes, only the ones that are really need it. So lab work, active learning sessions, with a reduced student number in the beginning for sanitary reasons, but then also because we are very much focusing on hands-on training and individual follow-up and support. So this can only happen with reduced student numbers. This is possible with alternated attendance. So this is the plan for 2021. But this is a big change. In fact, and to make it possible, so it's a big change, but it's actually different from what we used to do before the pandemic, but it's also different from what we're doing right now during the pandemic. So the curricula, the methods and equipment will have to be rethought, because now we are doing everything online, but now we are reintroducing the classroom as well for all courses, most of them. Then there will be a need for change of curricula, methods, equipment. So yes, the summer will be busy, or maybe this coming semester, and all educators will have to rethink, redesign, but it's actually exciting. It's a big challenge, but it's exciting. I think this was the last slide now. I will share just a few comments that I mentioned earlier regarding from my instructor's perspective. So I think educators will have to rethink their approach to teaching, learning, education. I think we realize that we cannot just transfer the traditional way into the new context that we are in, not only because it doesn't work, it doesn't fit, like recording of amphitheater lectures, and then you just upload them, doesn't work. And also because it would be a pity, because now this new learning environment creates new opportunities that we can take advantage of. And it's a new ecosystem we should take advantage of. Then we should redesign our curricula, focus on learning objectives, maybe the same as before, but with a new wide range of ways and methods that we have now at our disposal. And maybe because of this increased efficiency, we can even bring some new learning, objectives in the process. We should also break down the content into smaller pieces, like modules or capsules that we tend to talk about in our university, using a variety of on and offline methods, placing the learner in the center of the process and making him active through the use of project, case studies, analysis, etc. So all of this is very challenging. Changing perspectives, approach, and methods is not easy. And it will require a new set of knowledge and skills for educators, but also students. They will have to upskill, to make it work. So I would therefore encourage all educators not to reject the change that we're experiencing, but embrace it. It is exciting. It's actually like starting a new profession. And if we do it well, I think that it leads to greater enjoyment and impact for both educators and learners. Now, from my international affairs administrative perspective, I would recommend institutions to continue opening up to the world, as part of the general globalization trend and internationalization trends of universities. So there is an internationalization of their curriculum, incorporating more international, components, I would say, whatever the way. And this is facilitated actually by everything we've discussed so far today. We are now just a few clicks away from a teacher or a class that is located across on the other side of the world. So even technical courses are more fun when we incorporate some interaction with teachers and students from abroad. It could be just comparing approaches to a specific topic, or collaborative work, or it could be challenges and competition. But I think it tremendously helps keep the students engaged, and it enables them to further open their minds to the world and also open their network and develop intercultural skills. For my last point, I would also recommend higher education institutions to invest in virtual study exchange opportunities, whether for staff or students. So we have discussed that the online world extends the range of activities and participants, but it's also the case for staff and student exchange. So I believe that exchange programs will resume as they used to be, because they are very appreciated and they are very beneficial the way they used to be, with an actual physical presence in a foreign country. However, only a few people could afford it. If we look at the numbers, it was already very exclusive. So, but now with this virtual, progress of minds, opening up our minds to it, and technical progress as well, we can develop and offer virtual exchange programs. So I can already imagine students in their 4-year studies accumulating, physical exchange experience abroad and also virtual. So maybe 1 full year there and then 2 virtual exchange programs while staying in their home country. I think it would really increase, the international profile that they have and make it very much appealing to employers worldwide. So that's my contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Emmerich. Very good recommendations, actually. I mean, we have started with this. I mean, this is a small step, but hopefully we can expand this further for not just interaction, but collaboration, virtual collaboration. In the past, we felt that teleconferencing is such limiting. We said, we want to meet face to face, but because of the restriction, it opens up a new door, a new window. I mean, it's not limited by our ability to travel, but now we are embracing this online world. We are able to connect to colleagues in many different countries, from France, and later on, hopefully, with the help of Dr. Naufal in Tunisia and so on. And I like Mr. Emmerich's idea of opening up the opportunity to students as well. That would be interesting. Okay. All right. Okay. I would like to welcome 2 questions from the audience. You can either post your questions on the chat window, or if you prefer to use your mic, you could join us directly. Anyone with a question?
before the question comes in, I just want to add,
Okay.
talking about Mr. Emre Abriadiani, actually we already have worked on the international online seminar. Okay, we have last time Dr. Samit Guler from AGU that give us international seminar online to our robotics project group. So and actually it was a series of seminars. I think we have 7 people from around the world that have been given a forum to our students. So they already actually before, just for one subject, they already have like a CV of 7 speakers from Germany, from Turkey, and so on. So there are many. It's a lot.
Okay, yes. Right. Dr. Naufa has also started that international, is for our capstone project course. So we have a final year capstone course for our EU students, and Dr. Naufa has invited his colleagues from Czechoslovakia, from Czech, Turkey, and also France. And also we have one from Pakistan as well. So that was interesting. So the students get to have a lot of different look at what different researchers in different countries are doing in their area. That was really interesting. I joined one of them. Okay, I have okay, questions now. Okay, one question from my colleague Dr. Nasrin here. I have a question about the online surveillance of the exams. Obviously, it's posed to Dr. Anis. What happens if the student have bad internet connectivity? Are they able to join, or are they immediately, sort of barred, or they are not able to do the exam or the test? Over to you, Dr. Anis.
Yeah, that's one of the major problems actually. So if the connection is bad, so the student is considered as absent, I think. But because actually there are when the student, at least for the TSP system we are using right now, because the student is doing his exam using Moodle, and at the same time it has the camera switched on. Sometimes it may happen that the student may continue composing his exam, but the camera is not working. So in that case, maybe the responsible of the lecture of the exam will manage this, will accept or not, depending on the answers, for example, or he may propose another exam later on.
Okay, so there is an alternative.
Yeah, because the rule is, if the camera is switched off, the student is considered as absent.
I see. Okay. Yeah, because sometimes some of our students are not able to have their camera. I mean, either it's not working. And we also have students from low-income families. They don't even have laptops. All they have are handphones, and that's the same handphone where they need to look at the questions and so on. So it's not possible. So privately, I was also thinking, like, how are we going to do this? So it requires a lot of infrastructure.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. And actually, this issue is also raised in many, let's say, in many newspapers, because it's a kind of a discrimination, actually.
True. That is.
Compared to the classical exams done locally at the university. So in that case, and at the same time, for the software, the Proctor softwares, they usually ask for at least 1 megabyte connectivity. And it's the responsibility of the students to check that he has enough bandwidth before starting the exam. Yeah, but I agree with you that a problem may happen.
True.
During the exam.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's life also.
Yeah, true. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Anis. All right, I'm going
to
take another question from Dr. Tazli, who used to be our director of Center of Learning and Teaching and Learning at UTP. I'm going to take the second one because I think this one is something we need, and I think I'm going to pose it to Dr. Elif. The preparation for teaching and learning during pandemic obviously has tripled, or increase, the amount of preparation increase compared to our physical classes. So what would be the best ecosystem or environment to develop these materials so that our students and ourselves, the lecturer, maintain our own sanity?
Yeah.
Over to you, Dr. Elif.
Yes, and Shivali, in fact, if it is okay with you, I can also talk about that first question too, because
the smaller groups.
Yeah, because we are also
yeah,
kind of like trying to find an answer for that. And what we realized that because we like, as you know, the number of courses and the number of teachers may not.
Okay, hang on, Dr. Elif. Can you repeat a bit, because just now there was a break.
Okay. It says bad network quality for my network. I'm sorry.
Now it's okay.
Yeah.
Now it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Yes. So what I was saying is, so we are also discussing this topic, and what we realized that we are not asking our instructors specifically to divide their session, but they are doing it. Depends on their schedule. Otherwise, yes, it is better. In fact, that's what students want too. In our last survey, we found out that students are complaining about the number of the students in the classroom, and instructors also complaining like how so they are even, their complaints are even. So then we said, well, if the instructor has a time, yes, they can open a new session, but otherwise we kind of like still thinking about how we can engage these big courses. Those are the kind of things we are still debating and thinking. And about that, where was it? Oh, the preparation.
Right.
Yeah. Emerick also mentioned that that preparation part is so important, because definitely we have to now we have to change our mindset in that preparation part. And yes, it takes time. Again, what we found out is we ask students, like, if you go back to the beginning of the semester, what will you do differently? And they said taking less courses. I don't know what's the requirement in your university, but in my university, they can take up to 10 courses. And for online learning, that's too much. Like, they have to limit themselves 4 to 5. And now what we are doing is we are reminding our students, hey, this is not face-to-face, this is online. And what we are happy is like, they also recognize that now. And they're saying that, yes, for next, because as in, I don't know if it's the same, our students want to graduate as soon as possible. But with the face-to-face, it's, yeah, that's not manageable. And of course, that puts stress on their life. And about that, about our insanity, like sanity, I would say sanity, what I'm suggesting my instructors is like, just talk with each other, learn from each other, because know that we are not by ourselves. When we are talking, even it is about like just complaining, it is good, because we need to relieve ourselves. Well, another thing that I'm kind of into is like the meditation, but I don't want to get into that, or just focusing on mindfulness, which this is some technique that I'm testing with my student now. In fact, like, can I make them mindful so that they will manage to enjoy from their environment? So these are kind of things that we are testing with our instructors. If I, get better results, I'll let you know.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Elif. Okay.
Well,
we do have other questions in the chat window, but I'm afraid I have to stop we have to end the session at the time, because first of all, we don't want to have Microsoft Teams fatigue as well. There have been word of Zoom fatigue as well. So it's good to have this sharing session, this community of practice session, but we also need to like pace ourselves, all right, to also keep our sanity. Okay, so I would like to thank all the speakers, Dr. Elif Vengu, Dr. Anis Lawiti, Mr. Abri Abriani, Dr. Naufal, and also Dr. Said for joining us today, and all the audience. Thank you for being lovely participants today with a lot of the questions. I will take some of the questions and probably post them to some of the relevant speakers, or which area they are related to, and we'll get back to you. hopefully. So I hope that in the future we'll have more of such sessions, hopefully to have other colleagues from Abdullah Gul University and also Telecom Supari and also UTP, and obviously will involve a lot more departments in year 2021 very soon. Okay, thank you so much and keep safe everybody, and thank you again. All right, bye Dr. Alif.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Bye
All right,
bye.
thank you
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you
Bye.
Dr. Anis.
See you one day.
All right.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, Nafal, I have to leave for my class.
I think they're all gone.
Amirul.